The 23 biggest music business deals of 2025, from Taylor Swift to Tencent Music, Live Nation, and Chord. Looking back on the biggest music deals of 2025, one type of deal is conspicuous by its absence: Blockbuster acquisitions of superstar artist catalogs. None of the artist catalog deals this year, at least those that were reported, exceeded the sums reported on last year's list, which included Sony Music's acquisitions of all or parts of the catalogs of Queen, Pink Floyd, and Michael Jackson. The biggest individual artist-related deal on this year's list is for the masters of Taylor Swift's first 6 albums, acquired by Taylor Swift from Shamrock Capital. So what's taken the place of these deals? Debt issuances, and lots of them. Asset-backed securitization, ABS, of music catalogs has truly taken off. The other, joint ventures and fundraising rounds to build war chests for future acquisitions. And in another sign of the times, one of this year's largest deals didn't involve the usual players in New York, Los Angeles, or London. It came from China, where music streaming giant Tencent Music Entertainment acquired podcast company Himalaya for the equivalent of $2.4 billion. Below, you'll find the 23 biggest music business deals of 2025. Before that, though, a brief couple of notes. A. This list includes only deals whose value is known, either through official announcements or solid gold sources. B. We also haven't included refinancing of traditional/convertible debt offerings by the music industry's largest companies, including Universal, Sony, Warner, and Live Nation. In a clear sign of the growing importance of developing markets to the music industry, this year's biggest deal took place in China, where Tencent Music Entertainment, the country's largest operator of music streaming services, acquired podcast company Himalaya. Like its global rival Spotify, Tencent is busy expanding its offering from music to other forms of audio, and, in Tencent's case, even into live events. According to news reports, the deal for Himalaya involved a combination of cash and stock, with TME shelling out $1.26 billion in cash and up to 5.2% of its total outstanding Class A ordinary stock. As of 2023, Himalaya had 303 million monthly active users, MEUs. By way of comparison, TME itself counted 551 million MEUs as of the third quarter this year, of which 125.7 million were paying music subscribers. Music rights as an investable asset class are going from strength to strength, and one clear sign of this is Chord Music Partners' raise earlier this year, which as of August, per an exclusive report at MBW, had reached $2 billion. But that figure was expected to grow to as much as $3 billion, or even $4 billion by the time funding round closed in October. The round was dominated by equity investments from pension funds in the U.S. and Europe, as well as several family offices, and also included a debt component. One confirmed investor was Searchlight Capital Partners. Dundee Partners is a controlling shareholder in Chord Music Partners, with Universal Music Group holding a 26% stake. Concord's fourth foray into the ABS, asset-backed securities, market was its largest and, apparently, the largest and longest-tenured securitization of music rights by anyone to date, with senior notes of up to 10 years. The $1.76 billion raise was backed by Concord's catalog of more than 1.3 million music copyrights, including works by such artists as the Beatles, Beyoncé, Ed Sheeran, Michael Jackson, Taylor Swift, and the Rolling Stones. The catalog was valued at $5.1 billion ahead of the ABS transaction. Concord's latest ABS transaction followed an $850 million issuance in October 2024, 5-year notes maturing in October 2029, part of which was used to acquire a $217 million catalog from Latin music superstar Daddy Yankee. Bill Ackman's Pershing Square is made out very nicely on its ongoing investment in Universal Music Group, and in March of this year, it sold a 2.7% stake for 1.3 billion euros, about $1.4 billion US dollars at the time. Ackman noted at the time of the sale that UMG substantially outperformed the rest of our portfolio year to date. The sale reduced UMG's share of Pershing's holdings from around 27% of its capital to around 17%. Nevertheless, Pershing Square remains a major UMG shareholder following the sale, holding about 7.6% of the world's largest music company. The debut fund from Pop House Entertainment, The Sweden-based music investment firm co-founded by Abba's Björn Ulvaeus was a whopper, 1.2 billion euros, $1.3 billion at the time, raised what the company called one of the largest first-time private equity funds to be raised in Europe in the last decade. That's not including another 200 million euros, $216 million, raised through dedicated co-investment vehicles, which gave investors the opportunity to invest alongside the fund and participate in select transactions. Pop House said the capital would go towards acquiring music catalogs and other IP, and 30% of it had already been deployed through partnerships with artists such as Kiss, Cyndi Lauper, Avicii, and Swedish House Mafia. This year saw Warner Music Group team up with investment giant Bain Capital to launch a fund aimed at acquiring legendary catalogs in both recorded music and publishing. The 50-50 joint venture involves WMG and Bain each contributing $250 million in equity capital, plus around $500 million in initial debt secured by the JV's music assets, with the option of increasing the debt facility to $700 million, for a total war chest of up to $1.2 billion. According to news reports, one of the JV's first acquisition targets is the recording catalog of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Unconfirmed news reports in late November indicated that Warner is close to striking a deal for RHCP's recordings at a price point above $300 million. Marshall, the UK-born music equipment known for its rock amplifiers, found a new majority owner this year in the form of Beijing-based Hongshan Capital Group, a venture capital and private equity firm that has invested in some 1,500 businesses. The deal, worth 1.1 billion euros, $1.16 billion at the time of the deal, saw the Marshall family retain a 20% stake in the 63-year-old company founded in West London by Jim, the father of Loud Marshall, and son Terry. As of 2023, the company had been majority-owned by Swedish tech company Sound Industries. Marshall continues to manufacture amps at its facility in Milton Keynes, UK. Entertainment giant Warner Bros. Discovery, WBD, formed a joint venture early this year with media music rights company Cutting Edge Group to manage WBD's catalog of film and TV music. Under a deal reported by the Financial Times to be worth more than $1 billion, WBD's music rights will be sold into the JV, with Cutting Edge acquiring part of the portfolio and taking over management of the assets, which include music from the Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings franchises, as well as movies like Rebel, Without a Cause, Blade Runner, and Shawshank Redemption, and TV shows like Friends, Game of Thrones, The West Wing, and Sex and the City. Co-investing in the transaction was DWS Group, the asset management arm of Deutsche Bank. Cesac Music Group, which owns performing rights Org Cesac, as well as Harry Fox Agency, HFA, and Audio Salad, turned to the bond markets this year to raise $889 million. The whole business securitization, WBS, saw Cesac issue 5-year senior notes backed by substantially all Cesac Music Group's assets and revenues, including subsidiaries in its performing rights and music services divisions. This was the fourth time that Cesac went into the asset-backed securitization market for capital, and CEO John Josephson said WBS transactions will remain a vital part of the company's growth strategy. Concert and events giant Live Nation upped its stake in Mexican concert promoter Ocesa this year, shelling out $646 million for a 24% stake in the company. That brings Live Nation's total share of Ocesa to 75% from 51% earlier. In a sign of just how much Mexico's live music business has grown in recent years, LN's new 24% stake was valued at some 50% more than the original majority stake, which LN bought for $416 million back in 2021. Live Nation CEO Michael Rapino noted that Ocesa and LN have tripled the number of fans attending their shows since 2019. Harborview Equity Partners, which owns rights and music from artists such as T-Pain, George Benson, Fleetwood Mac's Christine McVie, Pat Benatar, Nelly, Wiz Khalifa, and others, secured $500 million this year from investment giant KKR, backed by Harborview's catalog of music royalties. Founder and CEO Cherise Clark said the company plans to use the new financing to scale up, to add to its portfolio of music content, and to push deeper into film and TV rights management. Since its founding in 2021, Harborview has amassed some $2.67 billion in regulatory assets under management, Charles Goldstuck's Gold State Music raised $500 million this past spring with which to acquire further music rights. The raise included a structured capital facility co-led by Northleaf Capital Partners and Ares Management Funds, as well as separately raised leverage. Goldstuck said the capital will enable the company to further accelerate our ability to capitalize on increasing demand for music and build a diversified portfolio of music assets across artists and genres. Ticketing platform Eventbrite announced in December that it's being acquired by Bending Spoons, an Italy-headquartered private equity firm that specializes in buying and turning around tech brands that have lost their luster. The $500 million all-cash deal will see Eventbrite delisted from the New York Stock Exchange after the deal is completed in the first half of 2026, pending regulatory and shareholder approval. Bending Spoon CEO Luca Ferrari said the company is eyeing a number of new features for Eventbrite, including a messaging function and a move into the secondary ticketing market. Carlyle Group reportedly closed a $464 million debt issuance earlier this year, backed by music rights held by Litmus Music. Litmus was launched in 2022 by industry veterans Hank Forsythe and Dan McCarroll, backed by $500 million from Carlyle Global Credit, split between equity and debt. The bond sale was backed by a $750 million portfolio of music assets, including works by Katy Perry, Benny Blanco, and Keith Urban. Warner Music Group in February announced its acquisition of a majority stake in Tempo Music, the music rights fund started by Providence Equity Partners. Providence retains a minority stake in Tempo, whose catalog of rights and income streams includes works by the likes of 21 Pilots' Tyler Joseph, Wiz Khalifa, Florida Georgia Line, the Jonas Brothers, Korn, and Grammy-winning songwriters Brett James and Shane McAnally. Notably, this was Warner's largest acquisition since Robert KYNCL took the helm as CEO at the beginning of 2023. Blackstone-owned Recognition Music Group issued $372 million in bonds this past summer, backed by 144 music catalogs containing over 47,000 compositions and recordings, among them works by Justin Bieber, Shakira, and Red Hot Chili Peppers. Recognition's catalog includes what used to be known as Hipgnosis Songs Fund, until Blackstone acquired it last summer. Less than a year earlier, Hipgnosis Songs Fund closed a $1.47 billion ABS transaction, with the capital going towards repaying debt and financing new transactions. Taylor Swift bought back the master recording rights to her first 6 albums from Shamrock Capital this year, ending a years-long drama that began when Scooter Braun's Ithaca Holdings acquired Big Machine Label Group in 2019, including the Taylor Swift masters. Taylor was famously unhappy about that deal and ended up re-recording those albums as Taylor's versions. Various estimates for Taylor's acquisition were reported. According to unnamed sources cited by Billboard, the masters came with a $360 million price tag. Music rights company Influence Media Partners raised $360 million this year through its first private financing, collateralized by royalties from its music rights portfolio. The transaction was led by Goldman Sachs and Truist Securities, acting as co-structuring and joint placement agents, with BlackRock as a joint placement agent. Founded in 2019 with a $750 million fund backed by BlackRock Alternative Investors and Warner Music Group, Influence has invested in music from artists such as Enrique Iglesias, Blake Shelton, Tyler Johnson, and Logic, among others. Suno, one of the generative AI music platforms currently busy settling copyright lawsuits brought against it by the music majors, closed a $250 million series, C funding round in November, which valued the startup at $2.45 billion. The round was led by Menlo Ventures with participation from N Ventures, NVIDIA's venture capital arm, Hollywood Media, Lightspeed, and Matrix. Suno's recent settlement with Warner Music Group, which comes not long after rival Udio settled its own lawsuits with Universal Music Group and WMG, could see the platform change dramatically as it partners with WMG artists. Beyond creating AI music, Suno users could soon be interacting with WMG artists in new ways. Go Digital, the parent company of record label, distributor, and rights management company Sync Music, raised $230 million in capital this year, led by Bank of America, with participation from Mitsubishi UFJ Financial Group, East West Bank, First Horizon, Fifth Third, and Flagstar. Go Digital also rebranded, dropping the Go Digital Media Group moniker and creating 3 new business units: Go Digital Music, Networks, and Brands. The company also announced that Sync Music itself will undergo a rebrand that will include a new name. Duetti, the company on a mission to democratize music rights acquisitions by making them available to indie artists, raised $200 million in debt financing, with $150 million coming from a bank facility and $50 million from a side facility from Biola Credit. The capital is going towards Duetti's plan to expand from acquiring recorded music rights to acquiring publishing rights and royalty streams. We believe we are leading the way in educating the capital markets on the significant long-term value of the independent music sector, co-founder and CEO Lior Tybin said. Music financing platform BeatBread, which offers algorithm-powered advances to indie artists, raised $124 million to expand its sales, marketing, and product operations, in addition to providing more flexible funding to artists, writers, and label clients. BeatBread received equity investment from Citi, Deschens Capital, Mucker Capital, and Advantage Capital in the round. Additional credit was provided by GMO and other lenders, the company said. As of February this year, BeatBread had paid advances to over 1,300 clients across 6 continents, with amounts ranging from $1,000 to over $10 million. These advances cover both existing music catalogs and new, unreleased material. After raising $500 million in new debt financing, see above, Harborview Equity Partners acquired a majority stake in the catalog of metal band Slipknot. The company didn't disclose the deal's value, but sources cited by Billboard placed it at $120 million. The deal reportedly included publishing and recorded masters rights. Harborview founder and CEO Cherise Clark called the band a global cultural phenomenon and said the music rights investment company plans to preserve and amplify the group's work for decades and generations to come.